We are running out of time currently, and at the current rate of fossil fuel consumption, we're not going to last. So, next slide, please. As a united global society, we are consuming too much fossil fuels too quickly. This global trend, you can see right here, shows no intent of declining as time progresses. China and India are entering into the current global markets, and with a combined population of over 1/3 of the world, this line right here of coal and gas and oil consumption is just going to skyrocket. This is going to put crazy competition on the U.S., and terrible things could happen. For instance, when you fill up your gas tank, it might cost $50 a gallon. Or all your little trinkets from China, they might start getting to be $50 to $100 a piece. So. And no, don't change, please go back.
Like cell phones? Awesome.
And also in less prosperous countries like, I don't know, down in the continent of Africa or something, people, they might die. It's hard to drive or do anything without gas. Because we are running out. So next slide, please. At the current rate of consumption, the world cannot sustain itself. We will have burned up the world's fossil fuel resources by 2088. That's very soon. At the rate of use, we use 4 billion tons of crude oil every year. 4 billion, that's 4,000 million tons of crude oil every year. We're going to run out, the world will run out by 2052. And we'll still have natural and coal, but as you can see, once we run out of oil, we'll have to increase the rate of consumption for natural gas and coal, and we will run out with all fossil fuels by the year 2088. And because the global population is growing, and we're now over 7 billion people, who knows, with that exponential growth, we might run out of fossil fuels even sooner. Boom. So, when this happens, it's going to be worse than all the world wars, the recent nuclear explosion in Japan, the current world hunger shortage. It's going to be terrible. We're going to be left in a ditch, the human race. We're not going to know what we're going to do. And people will pay with their lives. We might be okay, just get very, very poor, which is no fun. So the U.S., we're not going to be that okay. As you can see, we use a lot of fossil fuels, and our renewables, which is green, is very, very slim. So at this rate, with fossil fuels running out by 2088 in the world, we can't sustain ourselves. We don't have enough oil. Currently, we use 25.2 billion barrels of oil in a proven, every year. And we produce enough oil supply to not really do anything at all. We are entirely dependent on foreign oil. We use 19 million oils a barrel per day. If we were to rely on the U.S. resource of oil, it would take 3.7 years before we run out. Same goes with coal. I mean, we may have some more coal than oil, but at the current rate of use and exportation, we're going to run out very, very, very shortly. Currently, we have 484.5 billion short tons of coal, which may sound like a lot, but we do export a huge amount of it to Asia. So there's no way in hell we're not going to export this coal, and because our economy does rely on it. So we will run out of coal, just like that. And then natural gas. Blue team talked a lot about how natural gas is going to save us. It's not. We only have enough natural gas to sustain ourselves for, well, shale gas in particular, only 5 years. It's a bad thing, you know. The thing is, wind. Well, let me talk about that later. Shale gas. I'll come back to it in a couple slides. Okay. So people may try to say that we have enough oil and stuff, but well, we don't. Click for me. No matter what they say about oil, that we may have enough or it's going to be okay, it's going to last us, the U.S. will be all right. It's not true. The numbers are wrong, and we are running out. It's just an overwhelming agreement between, the large nations of the world and scientists around the world. So, next slide, please. What's the answer? A renewable resource, wind energy, can save us. Wind energy is renewable, accessible, cheap, and infinitely available. It's the answer to the death of fossil fuels around the world. It's the savior of the U.S. economy and the key to the United States of America gaining energy independence from the rest of the world. And in short, it's definitely better than shale, because if we were to invest in shale, we would run out of it in 5 years, even though Blue Team said it would last longer. If we were to exclusively use shale in the U.S., we would run out of it in 5 years. And the thing is, if we created an infrastructure to use shale at that rate, once we run out, we'll have no infrastructure to get any energy of any kind. And that'll leave us in a very bad situation. So, wind energy is as simple and easy to use as 1, 2, 3. If we build wind turbines, if we build wind farms, if we build a smart electrical grid to handle them, we will solve the U.S. energy crisis. We will lower domestic costs of all things, because everything uses energy to be made. And we can create jobs for the 12.1 million unemployed people in this nation. Cindy's going to tell you a little bit more about how wind can really, really, really help us.
All right, let's talk more about money. That's really the only thing that anyone gives a crap about. So as far as renewable resources go, it's true wind is the cheapest out of all of them. Solar is incredibly expensive. Biomass gasification, don't even start me on that. So wind is indeed the cheapest renewable energy source, and as we've already determined, renewable energy is the only place to go. So why not try to deal with the money aspect of it? Okay, so let's talk about how awesome wind is outside of costs as well. So did you know that the yearly emissions for building one wind turbine, it would take away 6.5 tons of sulfur dioxide, 3.2 tons of nitrogen oxide, 60 pounds of mercury, and over 1,500 tons of carbon dioxide. That's one wind turbine in comparison to the same amount, 1 megawatt of conventional sources. So that would be the equivalent of taking 300 cars off the road for a year per one single wind turbine. In addition, wind farms generate between 17 to 39 times the amount of energy they consume, to be compared with, say, 16 times for nuclear plants and only 11 times for coal plants.
Oh, did I mess up?
No, just go back.
Oh, no.
Other way. There you go.
Right.
Okay. So here we have something put there that is actually stolen a lot of different, taken a lot of different, anyway. You'll see here that when you're talking about the construction, wind is indeed more expensive than gas. However, if you talk about it with construction in addition to production, wind is cheaper than natural gas. However, you will not hear the natural gas lobbyists tell you about these statistics. Wind overall, along with production and construction, is cheaper than natural gas, believe it or not. Now let's go into how it can afford to be this cheap. So wind has actually, the wind turbine technology has actually increased in productivity 600% since 1990. It's gone from 250 kilowatts to 1770 kilowatts. And this, of course, decreases the cost of wind dramatically. Wind has only gone down in costs since the 1980s. Wind being a free and constant resource, wind energy production can be locked for a long period of time, from 20 to 30 years. And this helps the average consumer because it avoids price hikes, which most people cannot afford when they do pop up. As opposed to natural gas prices, which are actually very much prone to price hikes. Shale in particular, the infrastructure for shale can be drastically affected by natural disasters. You'll see here in natural gas, price spikes are driven by hurricanes, which do affect the infrastructure of natural gas, which obviously affects the consumer, you people. So not only is gas cheaper, but it is cheaper for a long period of time, and doesn't give you any unexpected price hikes, which cannot be the same said for natural gas. In addition to that, it's popular. 89% of American voters actually said in a survey in March 2010 that they wanted more United States dependence on wind energy. That's actually 84% Republicans, 88% independents, and 93% of Democrats. So everybody agrees, essentially, that it's a good idea that we should invest more in wind. And let's talk even more about that.
Right. So, the environmental effects of wind energy, right? Not nearly as bad as any of those fossil fuels out there. Burning the fossil fuels results in the release of chemicals into our environment, such as nitric, carbonic, and sulfuric acids. And when those get into the atmosphere, it causes acid rain, which destroys forests and also our buildings. Not so pleasant. Then we get into the health impacts. Studies of the burning of fossil fuels on human health say that the main adverse effects on human health of atmospheric pollutants resulting from fossil fuel combustion are ophthalmic problems, skin injuries, gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, and respiratory diseases, and some types of cancer. So effects on the nervous system have also been associated with high levels of carbon monoxide in the air. None of that you get when you have wind energy running. And so we're told that really, even if there are some health problems, it doesn't really matter because in the end, these fossil fuels will give us longer, happier, healthier lives. But as we can see here, when you compare our CO2 emissions and our lifespans are actually plateauing right now while our CO2 emissions are going up. So even though we're burning more fossil fuels, our lives aren't getting any longer. We aren't doing anything to help ourselves at this point. What will improve our quality of life? Wind energy. Not only is it healthier, but want to look at the aesthetics? I think Blue Team brought up some interesting points with how it can appear in our lives. But there's a lot of things going on right now. While these are being implemented, there are lots of innovations going on to make wind turbines fit into our current landscape better. So, yeah, that's right. So, when we look at what we currently have, this is how we get oil. These nice, big, ugly machines stuck in our landscape, stuck in our oceans. If you want to talk about shale mining, this is what it's doing to places like West Virginia. Not so pleasant. And even once you get all of the resources, they have to be processed in nice, big, ugly factories like this, placed out in the middle of what looks like otherwise agricultural land. Also not so pleasant. Wind energy, however, can eventually in the future be placed into our own urban landscape. So you can put them up on freeways. You can also put them in houses, or if you still don't like that, you can move them out to the ocean, which also reduces wind noise problems. If they're all the way out there, you don't have to see them, you don't have to hear them.
It's just free energy, guys.
Free, it's healthy,
It's best.
not a problem. Great stuff.
All right. Now that we've talked about some of the benefits of wind, I'd like to show you the clip that had been dismissed earlier. And I encourage you guys all to watch the documentary Gaslands. It really, it's just a segment of the movie, essentially.
Sean?
Play it, DJ.
Oh wait, is the sound connected?
Yeah.
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 Cool. All right, so as the documentary will go to say, this clip was recorded in a location where hydraulic fracturing is prevalent, and as a result, methane has begun leaking into tap water sources. And it's one of the numerous byproducts of a new energy source that for some inconceivable reason we have begun to place interest in. So with that, I'm unfortunately going to have to bash shale a little bit more here.
Not too unfortunate.
Yeah. So, I like to call shale gas our current detour from the inevitable transition to renewable energy sources such as wind. Three words that come to mind about shale for me are that it's extreme, it's irrational, and it's unsustainable. Our current system is currently so addicted to fossil fuels that we've begun turning to more and more extreme measures to feed this habit. welcome to the world of extreme energy, everyone. So let's go ahead and see what's just so extreme about it. First of all, shale gas is pretty much the epitome of clean, fresh water's worst enemy. The Government Accountability Office has estimated that a commercial-scale oil shale development could require as much as 123 billion gallons of water. Now, I'm sure you guys all understand the concept of gallon. You have gallons of milk. Now, try and imagine 123 billion of those. That's how much water it would take. Not only would this mean that your faucets could run dry, there would be no water recreation sports, farmers would have to watch their crops turn to dust. The little water that does remain could be contaminated, as shown by the clip and as demonstrated in this picture, with the byproducts of shale. As put by a technician responsible for investigating and managing the groundwater contamination at the Department of Environmental Control, quotes, "If you're looking for a way to poison the drinking water supply, here in the Northeast you couldn't find a more chillingly effective and thorough method of doing so." The problem is water is not the only problem. Fracking is done essentially by blasting rock in an effort to attain some small amount of gas trapped within that rock. Obviously, this process is not 100% efficient, nor can it never be 100% efficient. Thus, you have methane just leaking into the atmosphere, directly fueling our greenhouse gas epidemic. In a recently published article by Cornell University, researchers found that shale gas production emits up to 8% more methane than other natural gas productions, and over the next 20-year period could yield a footprint twice as big as coal. If that's not extreme enough for you, fracking has even been linked to earthquakes, as was the case for 50 tiny tremors in northern England alone last year. Arkansas also experienced a surge of earthquakes, around 600 last year, which is more than it's experienced in the last 100 years combined. The Arkansas Geological Survey believes that shale gas is a direct antagonist of these tremors. So, with all these extreme disadvantages, there must be some kind of extreme payout. So, I'll just go ahead and break this down quickly for you. On the top line here, you have the estimated reserves of shale gas. Multiply that by the amount of energy you receive per unit area of shale gas, which leads you to our amount of energy that we can derive from shale gas in the United States. And all these statistics I'm about to use are from the Energy Information Agency. So now with this reserve number, let's go ahead and see how much the U.S. is consuming. We have around 300 million people in the United States, and we use around 334 million BTUs per person of energy per year. So, theoretically, if we were to derive all of our energy needs from shale gas production in the United States, what we do is divide these two numbers to get a result of around 5 years. So everyone, that's 2017. I don't consider that an extreme enough payout. What we need to do is tell the shale gas industry to frack off. As a country, we must not be fooled by the continued dead-end road of fossil fuels, no matter how fancy the name. And although fossil fuels are currently fueling the United States, there is hope. Wind is that hope, everyone. We need to begin investing in wind now. It's the future.